Hey there, bitches. Welcome back to And World Peace. I'm your host, Maggie Gehlsen-Burnett. And on today's episode, we have my lovely friend Alex joining us. She is one of the dopest people alive. I actually am just so fucking excited for you to sit down and listen to this. But before we get into it, you know the drill here, a couple of housekeeping items. The first is that And World Peace is now on Patreon. It's patreon.com/andworldpeace. That is where you can make a monthly contribution to the show if that is a way that you want to support. Another way you can support is through Spotify listener support, and that is a one-time donation done directly through Spotify. If that is your listening place of choice, then cool. Of course, none of these things are necessary. They are just another way for you to show your support for the show. A couple of other great ways to support the show are by sharing this with your friends, family, coworkers, whoever the fuck you think might be interested in me just gabbing over here. And obviously, sharing on social media is always great as well. Like I said, I am so excited for you to listen to this episode here today. We have my friend Alex joining us. Alex and I actually met on TikTok, and God, it just makes me so grateful for that fucking dumb little app, because I meet people like Alex and I'm so inspired by them, and I just think she's one of the coolest fucking people ever. So a brief little intro to Alex, and then we'll get right into her episode. So Alex is a cosmetic chemist and co-founder of the skincare line Educated Mess, which is quickly becoming one of my ride or die holy grail skincare lines. She studied biology and chemistry in undergrad at UNC Chapel Hill, and then went on to receive her master's in Cosmetic Science. She worked briefly as a temp for L'Oreal before moving to Texas to work as a formulation chemist at a contract manufacturer, developing personal care products for tons of different brands. It was in that time that Alex started to see themes within the industry that she didn't love, despite loving what she was doing every day. It was also in that time that she met Catherine, her now business partner, who helped her see that complaining about a problem is a lot less effective than doing something to contribute to its resolve. After a few White Claws and subsequent conversations, the idea for Educated Mess was born. And like I said, it is such an amazing brand. Alex is a absolute force. She is such a badass, and I just can't wait for you to listen to this episode. So I'll quit gabbing here and we'll get right into it, and we will welcome Alex to the show. Okay, so excited to have you on the show, Alex. Welcome.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yay, yay. I feel like this has been just such a long time coming, especially
for sure.
because of our found friendship on TikTok. I just love that so many of the people I'm having on this show, I actually became friends with literally just through the internet.
I
So
swear.
I love it.
TikTok is the craze. Like, I love TikTok so much. The number of things it's done, like, and how it connects people, it's just incredible.
Exactly. Okay, so let's get right into a little bit of like your story, your background, how you even got the fuck into cosmetic chemistry. Like what, like explain that to me. As somebody who's like not, I mean, I have a bachelor's in a science field, but it's absolutely not chemistry under any circumstance. I literally did not even take a chemistry class, I don't think, in college. So explain how you even got into that and how that started for you.
Yeah. So back when I was in college, like, TikTok wasn't a thing. So I didn't know, no one really knew what a cosmetic chemist was. I didn't know anyone did that,
Can I ask when you went to school?
Yeah. So I graduated in 2015.
Okay, so yeah,
Yeah.
I was like
We're
the
like
same
the
time.
same age, I think,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
I was 2017. So yeah, around the same.
Okay. I'm old. I'm that much older than you. I'm 2 years older than you. You're a child.
Oh my God, stop. I literally feel like I'm in my 40s. It's totally fine. So
Okay.
anyway,
I
sorry,
somebody
continue.
asked me the other day how old I was, and like my knee-jerk reaction is still 24, and I'm like, you just turned 30. Like, you gotta chill with that. And I still feel like I'm just celebrating my 21st birthday every year. But yeah, so when I was in school, I was studying chemistry and biology. I kind of had thought of initially I would do pre-med, but like, I can't do blood. I can't do like bodily functions. It grosses me out so much. Literally, I was taking a physics exam and there was a question about like blood pressure, and I was getting like lightheaded. And I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't do med school. And my GPA was horrible. No, I'm just but anyway, so I started also getting like really bad acne, and I'm sitting there and I'm like making masks for myself, like with like home remedies of like honey I was buying from New Zealand and stuff. And it was I just kind of started thinking like somebody's got to like actually make the real stuff for a living. Like who does that? That's kind of a cool job. And then I started looking up like cosmetic product development jobs, or not jobs, like grad schools. And there was like at the time there was only one that I could find. There was like a certificate you could do at the University of Toledo, I think, or Cincinnati, somewhere in Ohio. But then in New Jersey, Fairleigh Dickinson had a program. So I got my master's degree in cosmetic science. And I still didn't think I wanted to work in the lab though. I was like, that sounds miserable. I do not want to be in a lab all day. And I was working actually at L'Oreal and their claim substantiation department. So I was doing like some not legal stuff, but I was working with a lot of like the lawyers, and it was so boring. And I had to like shred a lot of documents, and I just hated it. And
Oh my
I would
God.
like go in as late as humanly possible. I was a temp employee, so like they just paid me for whatever hours I was there, and it was just like the worst thing ever. So I just hated New Jersey. Like it was freezing cold. I remember like one day I was like walking into work, it was May and it was cold. I was wearing my winter coat and I'm like, this has got to stop.
The worst.
I felt like I was like, this sounds dramatic, but I literally felt like I was like missing out on so much happiness.
Yeah. Oh my
Um,
God. Absolutely. I
and
feel
like
like,
I don't know, I just hated the cold. I hate the cold weather. And if it's cold weather and like the end is in sight, where it's like next week it might be warm, that's different. Like my bones were cold all the time in New Jersey. And I hated shoveling snow. So anyway, I went into work one day and I was just like miserable because of the cold. They asked me to shred documents and I was salty about that. And I just started applying for jobs literally anywhere else. So I was like, I just want to get out of New Jersey. And so like I applied for a couple brands that were in California, but all of those really wanted somebody with like experience. And I didn't have that. I was shredding documents. So I finally like I didn't know what a contract manufacturer was either. So I'll get into like what that is in a second. But I like look, I was like, this looks like an illegitimate company, but it's based in Dallas. That sounds fun. I'll at least just go like get lab experience before I go work for a brand. And I got there and it was like, so a contract manufacturer is basically a place that like brands can go. They get the chemists to help develop formulas, and then the manufacturer also produces at large scale, like for
got
production.
it. Okay.
And yeah, so but you're working with tons of different brands. But when I'm looking at the name of this company and like looking it up in Texas, I'm like, I don't know one product from this brand. This is not a real company. And then I get there and I'm like, oh, we're making stuff for brands I've heard of. That's cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I'm really glad I did that, because if I had gone straight and worked for a brand, I might would have been completely influenced by like their ideals or whatever. Like if it was a natural brand, I might only really know how to formulate for natural. So I was like working with brands that were giving me clean beauty lists. Like I was working with brands that were like, just put whatever you want in there, no budget, I worked for some that were like very high budget, like medical grade. And then the next day I'd be working on like a drugstore hand soap. So the variety was incredible, but it also, I got context of a bunch of different types of parts of the industry.
Yeah.
And it was fun. And even though of course like the high end skincare is what gets me going, it's really fun. The actives and all that. It's really cool to also, I don't know, get to go in some days and just work on something completely random. So
Yeah.
I love that. And I got to learn about like all different sides of the industry, the whole natural, clean, all that, and get to see the
Yeah.
issues within those types of brands. So I just kind of got to form a lot of opinions of what I do and don't like, and then just applied those all to my brand. So
Yeah.
that's how I'm here.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. How cool. I just had no, I feel like every day I learn about some kind of field, especially interviewing people on
Yes. Oh,
the
I
show.
bet. Yeah.
And I just learn about so many different types of and lines of work. And I'm always so fascinated about, I mean, just the plethora of work that people can get into. Like
Jobs.
that's amazing.
I would have never thought that, like jobs that I did not know were jobs. I was literally talking to somebody who has a brand that's in like a big retail store. And she was like, yeah, so we also have to pay for like quality control to go in. So they have to send people into the store to check and make sure the displays are done right, because the hourly employees at the store don't do that. And I'm like, that's a whole other field.
What?
Like that's a literal industry of work that got founded just because like of a new problem that popped up. I don't know. It was just so bizarre.
Right. That's crazy. Oh
I
my
was
gosh.
like, like I would have never thought of that job. Oh, and don't even get me started when people say they work in finance. I have no idea what that means. No idea. I know that's a common one, and that's not one of those weird jobs, but that's still just as confusing to me. Like, I don't know.
I literally I was talking to
Funny.
a friend about this a few weeks ago, how I work in the tech industry. So I
I
work
was about to roast you for that. Not roast you, but
literally,
like
oh my God,
apply it
no,
to that.
please fucking roast me, dude. I hate it so much. It's literally the bane of my existence. But like, I fundamentally cannot wait to quit my job. I do not care if anybody on the
I
internet
love it
hears
so
that I'm
much.
at my company. So,
I love that so
um,
much.
so
Bugs out the window.
the tech industry is so similar in the sense that like you can say I work in the tech industry, and what that means is 40,000 different things. So like I'll be like, yeah, I work in business development in the tech industry. People are like, what the fuck does that even mean? And like it sounds very, it's like it sounds way cooler than it is, right? Like that's like the problem with everything in the tech
Cool.
field is that it all
One of
sounds better.
I was with one of my best friends and she was like looking for jobs and I'm like, what do you do? And she's like, I work, she said something about, she's like, I do like digital product development. I'm like, so do you build the website? No. I'm like, do you code it? She's like, no. And I'm like, do you make ads for it? Like,
Oh
what
my
do you do? I'm like trying to think of any company or friend I know that might work somewhere that like can help. And she's like explaining it, and I'm like, this is not clicking. Like, there's nothing going on right here in me.
I have to send you this guy on TikTok who does these videos about specifically the tech industry, but he does a few like finance ones that are really funny. And people will be
Yes.
like, he like impersonates people who are saying their job, and like it's the tech bro who's talking about his job, and he's like, yeah, so I'm the manager of business development of marketing automation and SEO and the Lord of the Rings with the baby in the womb.
Literally.
He like says like just a bunch of different phrases, and it's so fucking funny.
Please
I
send me
have to
that.
send
That
you
will, I cannot wait to watch that.
that. Amazing.
I still just have no, like, yeah, I don't know what jobs people do, but I feel like for chemistry, it's like once people hear that it's a job, they're like, oh, that makes sense. Like, and it's really easy for me to tell people what I do. So that makes my life easier.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, so you worked for this contract manufacturer, you were starting to work with, bigger brands that you recognized. What led you to the ultimate point of starting your own brand and like ultimately you left that job, right? To go full time
Yeah.
with your own
So
company.
my next job after that one, I did quit that job and I went and worked at a different manufacturer. And I was their director of R&D, which was cool. So I got to start seeing like the business side, I guess, like their side of things. And I'm like, I think it might make more sense to work. Sorry, that was the dryer.
Oh, you're
It might make more sense to, start my own thing. But honestly, there were so many things that bothered me, like with clean beauty. So if I'm formulating a product for a brand and they're like, we want this to do this, 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 and look like this, and here's your budget. And they want all the things and none of the bad things, but they first of all, with clean beauty, there's no like national set of standards that a brand has to follow to call themselves clean. We're a clean beauty brand, and any brand can be clean beauty, like
right.
literally any brand. So we would have brands come in and be like, oh, we're a clean beauty brand, so you can't use any of these ingredients. And then the next brand would come in and we're a clean beauty brand, so you can't use any of these ingredients. There's no consistency. It's literally just an
Right.
arbitrary list that this brand has put together. And sometimes they would use like the Clean at Sephora list. And that one I kind of understood because like you want to be able to sell at Sephora. But the
Sure.
Clean at Sephora list was not backed by science at all. Like there are things on there that are just like completely not backed by science. And it's just a lot of fear mongering influences those lists. So
Yeah.
that would frustrate me because I'm like, well, I can't use this emulsifier that's going to absolutely hold the water and oil together. So if I use this other one, maybe the texture is off, or maybe it's really expensive, or maybe I have to use a stronger equipment that I don't have in the lab. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's just always something. And so it's like, for me, cosmetic chemistry is such a blend of art and science. And it's like you get to play around and get creative with the ingredients and formulate these new textures. But I was always limited by these brand values that were not backed by science. And it's okay if like you want to be a natural brand for like personal reasons, but don't claim that
Mhm.
natural is better than synthetic because that's just not the
Yeah.
case. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
so I was just always, everything that I was able to use was limited by what the brand wanted. And ultimately I don't like to be told what to do,
Yeah.
especially when I'm working. I'm like, this is my job. Stick to what you're doing. Let me do my job. And I understand why certain brands want to leave out certain, well, I mean, I don't understand why, but I understand why they think they should leave out certain ingredients.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also understand now because like from a marketing standpoint, like a lot of brands just kind of have to drink the Kool-Aid because that's what sells.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was complaining about all of this to my business partner. This was actually like a couple years ago, like 3 years ago ish. Like right during the pandemic. She and her roommate lived like right next to me. So I just went and we were our own little pod, you know? And
Yeah.
so we were talking one day and I guess she had enough of every day me complaining about something else. And she was just like, well, instead of complaining about it, why don't we try and fix it? Like, why don't you, what's stopping you from starting a skincare line? And I'm like, well, I don't even know how to file taxes or to sign up for an LLC. My dad
Totally
does my
same.
taxes still.
I totally.
And then I'm also like, chemists do not make much money at all. So I did not have like the savings required to like put behind that. And so
Right.
she was working in med device sales. And so she had a little bit of that, you know? Uh,
Yeah.
so we worked together and she was like, you know, all the business stuff, like, I'll take care of that. Like, I can figure that out. Like, you just do the products and the marketing. So then what's actually interesting is that we started this. I had to quit my job because it would have been a conflict of interest to be like working with other brands while, you know, and
Yeah.
I think I could have, in retrospect, I definitely could have gotten away with it, but like, I just didn't. I was also really close with the president of the company I worked for that I was director of R&D for. Like he became like a father almost, you know. And
Yeah.
I didn't want to like, I don't know. So when I told him I quit, I was like, I am leaving, but like take as long as you need to hire someone. Like I'll stay, but I'm just letting you know this is like it's getting to the point where I can't focus on anything else. And so like that's not fair to you guys either.
Hmm.
Um and I had a really good friend in the industry who had been my boss at the first job I worked at, and she was looking to move, so she actually took my place, which was perfect. Um, anyway, so then Catherine and I start the skincare line. It's amazing. She's awesome. Like, so we launch it, and we can't run ads on Facebook because Facebook decides to suspend our account within like an hour of us for like insufficient activity. And this also happened when I made a business account for my Facebook so I could run Instagram ads on like my personal stuff. So lack of activity, why? Because we didn't buy followers. I don't know. And so, but
Wild.
Facebook doesn't have like a help desk. We've emailed, we've called. It was 6 months before this got resolved that we just like couldn't run ads. I mean, we figured out other stuff to do, but like
Yeah.
it just wasn't the same. But also, I, I didn't know that people talked about skincare on TikTok or anything
Yeah.
like that. I had no idea. So she's like, get on TikTok. Like you should, you know, just start talking about skincare. And I was like, I might have 4 topics I could talk about. No one's gonna care to hear any of the like, no one's gonna care what I have to say. And she's like, yeah, they will. Just try. And I knew like I had followed like Susan Yara and Caroline
Mhm.
Hirons on like YouTube. I had like watched, not follow, you don't follow on YouTube, but you know what I mean. I had watched
Yeah.
stuff on YouTube, so I knew that was a thing. But like I just thought there were only two. There's two. And oh, I also knew like Lab Muffin. I followed her
Yes.
like back in
Mhm.
grad school. Um, and so my business partner sent me like Charlotte and Javon's pages and Jane, and she was like, just like, look, people talk about skincare. So I started just kind of trying to make content, and that was really, we really had to do that because we couldn't run advertisements. So it was kind of
Yeah.
like, what else do you do? And there's really no like, what is so hard about starting a business is like there's no map to follow. It's like you're creating something out of nothing. And
Exactly.
and especially with the way like social media and TikTok is constantly changing, and TikTok shop now, like there's no like set of steps in place that you have to take to get where you're trying to go, which is so different than any job I've worked.
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
but luckily out of all of that and all the frustration and all the like hardships, I guess, I had to get on TikTok, and I've like made friends with people like you and other friends that I've
Yeah.
connected with through the app. I mean, it's just this incredible community of people, and the other brand founders I've met through that are so supportive. It's not like, oh, who's this girl walking in here? I mean, they might say that behind my back. I'm just
Yeah.
naive, but like, I don't know. I mean, I think TikTok is this amazing, incredible community, and like, I wouldn't have even known about TikTok if my business partner hadn't put, like, I mean, I knew about TikTok, but like a skincare TikTok. If my
Yeah.
business partner hadn't been so supportive and pushed me, but like also been so patient with me. I mean, you have ADHD too. Like, you know, it's hard to like
Yeah.
do
Oh my God.
something,
Yeah.
especially when you don't know exactly what it is you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. That's
I just
amazing.
rambled a lot. TikTok is like so trial and error though, and it's like hard for someone like I don't know, my brain just doesn't, I comprehend science because it either is or it isn't. You know what I
It's
mean?
black or
Well,
white.
I
Yeah.
mean, I always say science is never black and white, but like for in general, like the rules and the patterns are there.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
with figuring this stuff out, there's no patterns to follow. It's like there's a new
Right.
feature. Have you figured it out yet? And then you have to go
Yeah.
through like 20 steps to, I don't know.
That's exactly what Erin, who I just interviewed, she said something in a very similar vein, which was like, there is no rule book or guidebook for being an entrepreneur. Like there is
Yeah.
no roadmap that you follow. It's all just trial and error and seeing what the fuck works and seeing if it sticks. And if it doesn't, then doing something else. And
Yeah.
I love that you had to kind of revert to this super organic marketing strategy in the, especially like in those really early days of your business. That is
Yeah.
incredibly difficult, and B, kind of a ballsy strategy to have, I mean, well,
Remember?
inadvertent strategy, but but a strategy nonetheless, and
Yeah, it
that's
was
amazing.
yeah, I remember like the first time, oh my God, I had like 1,000 followers maybe, and I saw that like somebody from high school liked my video, and I was like, and I'm just
Course.
picturing everybody sitting around the bonfire like, did you see Alex's TikTok? She's trying to be an influencer.
Every day,
I was
dude,
like,
when someone from my
no.
high school follows me, it is crippling, the anxiety. I mean, I could not give a fuck
Sweat.
about
I start sweating.
same about anyone else on the internet, but 10 years removed from high school and still give me a follow from somebody from that godforsaken place, and I like shit my pants. It is crippling, the anxiety I get from that.
I don't know what it is, but it's just like, excuse me. Wait, but speaking of what we were talking about just now with what Aaron was saying and being entrepreneurs too, and if anyone's listening, and like I'm reading this book right now, it's so good. I talked about it on the last podcast I was on, and that was like a month ago, and I'm still reading it because I'm slow.
Same girl.
But I'm traveling a lot. I keep forgetting to take it, but it's called Think Again by this guy, Adam Grant. And the
Yes,
whole
I've heard of
book,
that.
have you, okay,
Yes.
it is so good, but there's this whole chapter in there where he talks about like basically it was like a case study, I guess they did, where they took two test subject groups or whatever. And one of them, they were supposed to come up with businesses, and they had to come up with their business plan and their prototype and their strategy and all of that. Like, and that was what they had to stick to. And the other group, they were just told this is like an experiment, like play around, see what works, see what doesn't. Like you've got plenty of time to figure it out, and you can change your strategy as much as you want. And like the amount of revenue that the side A versus side B generated on average was like an insane difference when you were just able to treat it like an experiment. Like, and I think that's something me and Catherine are really good at doing too. It's like, even if one of us thinks something is like set in stone, correct? Like, I mean, I was just going through this last week with something, and I'm like, no, we have to do it this way. And we start to like kind of play around and see, and we're like, okay, actually, and so I told our designer, I was very set on something, and I told the designer, well, show me both. And then I was like, all right, I see your point. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And it's like we always just keep in mind that everything is flexible. Neither of us knows infinitely more than the other about anything. So
Right.
both of our input is very valid. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
and I think that's really important for anyone who's going to be an entrepreneur to think about. Like, you're going to have to put your ego aside and think about, do I want this just because it was my idea, or do I want this because like this is what's actually best for the business? And it's hard to
Yeah.
differentiate that sometimes. Like, I am someone who always likes to pride myself on the fact that I don't like put my ego first, that
Yeah.
was like a cocky thing to say for someone talking about not putting their ego first, but
No, I
I
totally get
don't
what you mean.
find, like,
Yeah.
especially when you're putting all your time and stuff into a business like this, like, which both of us are doing, and we have a third partner who is also like putting in so much blood, sweat, and tears right now. And like it gets really easy to be like, well, no, I want it this way, so it has to be this way. But I think something we're all really good about is just remembering, like, all right, let's put the business first. All right, what is actually important here? But yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
an interesting
Yeah.
like, I don't know,
Balance
just
you have to
new
strike.
thing to
Yeah.
learn,
Yeah, absolutely. That's amazing. So I want to talk about like maybe the elephant in the room for the people who are listening who know you from TikTok. And like, so your TikTok blows the fuck up. So you have, how many followers now do you have on TikTok?
I think like 130,000.
I
Let me
mean,
look.
yeah, you got a fuckload of followers. Okay. So you blow up on TikTok and you're reviewing all of these brands, and you're, doing these product reviews, and you're explaining the chemistry behind why these products work and don't. So I am assuming that there is a very large chunk of your audience who is incredibly misinformed. I know I was, especially about the skincare industry and about products in general. So I want to kind of debunk some skincare. So
Okay.
does skincare need to be pricey? Does it need to be complex? Does it need to be like, do most companies have good intentions when they are marketing products? I like, give us the tea on the skincare industry and what you've learned just by like really sharing your wealth of knowledge with the world on this massive social media platform you have?
So I have worked with both like medical grade skincare brands and drugstore brands. And I mean, this is also like, I don't want to generalize for every brand. This is just my
Sure.
experience. So I do know friends that have worked for certain brands that are like medical grade and like maybe are regulated, like not regulated, but owned by like a pharmaceutical company.
Mhm.
And I do know there's a lot of time and money that goes into the discovery of certain new raw materials. And so there are some advanced brands that are using like proprietary active ingredients and technologies. And for those, like I'm like, okay, like I don't know, Skin Medica and OS Skin, or no, One Skin, I think is the name. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
One
Yes.
Skin or Augustinus Bader. Like I don't know enough about their patented ingredients, but I'm like the promise could be there. I think those could be worth it. But when you have brands like SkinCeuticals and like Dr. Abaji, some of those that are just using like, in my opinion, kind of basic technologies, still charging a premium. They continue to raise their prices every time, which granted there are raw material price raises in the industry, but like formula is not, their margins are so high that there's no
Dude,
need to be.
SkinCeuticals is fucking criminal.
I mean, their stuff probably costs about $1 or $2 a bottle, and they're charging 188, and they just keep charging more. Like even if every raw material in that formula doubled in price, they are still eating good that night. You do not need to be charging $200 for a serum. Like holy shit, excuse my language,
That is,
but
well,
I forget which podcast I'm on. Yeah, holy
please
shit,
know
holy
you can
fucking
swear
shit.
anytime you want on this. That
No,
is wild.
but
Oh my
I mean,
God.
I mean, there are some high end brands that are worth it. I get so like, I'm very critical of brands that cost more than like $60. I mean, if you're charging that much, I do expect to see like not just one or two ingredients that are good, but like maybe five or six. Like there are brands
Right.
that do this really well. Like Skin Rocks does it, Bloom Effects does it. Um, Youth to the People, I think, is another really good one. And
Mhm.
Educated Mess, of course. But there are also plenty of brands that are in the affordable range, like Naturium, Stratia. What was
Yes.
the other one that I was thinking of the other day that I was like,
God, I
this
love
oh,
Naturium.
Theramid is a really good one.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
like you can still get really good products under $30 or under $40.
Yeah.
But if you do have a little more money to spend, there are plenty of brands that can support that, and like the products will be better. But just because something is expensive doesn't mean it's gonna be. And I feel like I was actually just talking to somebody about this the other day. What's actually funny is there's a lot of brands that will just like kind of say, oh, we want put 0.01% of this ingredient in there because we want to put it on the label. And so it's really hard
Mm.
when I'm analyzing, like when I'm looking at an ingredient list, like to know if a product is good or not, because I don't know if they're using the recommended level of that active or if it's just like fairy dusted in, because a lot of times the recommended level will still put the active part like less than 1%, so like below the 1%
Right.
line when you're looking at it. Um, so it's hard to tell. So I always just assume, I'm like, there's so many products that have zero really good ingredients and they're like banking on the aloe or something, that I can still like see which product has better potential. But I can tell
Mhm.
you about my experience with high end versus drugstore brands. The high end brands were more likely, in my experience, again, in my experience,
Yeah.
the really expensive brands I worked with that were medical grade, that were not medical grade, but like that had the high reputation of being
Mhm.
good, they were the ones that were more likely to just barely put anything in, because and celebrity brands too, and
Oh
celebrity,
yeah.
because
Yeah.
they know that people are going to buy it regardless just because of the name. But the
Hmm.
little startup brands that are like trying to prove themselves, they have to make their formulas good in order to prove themselves.
Yeah.
Fairy dust and ingredients in there. So I
Yeah.
always consider that too when I'm like reviewing a product. So I don't know, because I
Wow.
was just hearing somebody be like, I cannot stand when a chemist acts like they can look at an ingredient list and tell what's good. I'm like, I might be wrong 10% of the time. I might have missed something, but I still think I'm at least providing better guidance than somebody who hasn't worked with these ingredients at all.
100%. I mean, I look at your TikToks as like truly my Bible for skincare because because I don't know my ass from my elbow. Like all I know is that I know these brands, but that's all I know, right? Is the
Yeah.
brand name. Like, I know that SkinCeuticals makes a $130 vitamin C serum. Like,
Oh,
and
girl, it's
I also
180
know
something.
what's that?
It's 180 something now.
Yeah, like I know that I'm not gonna fucking pay that when Naturium is making an amazing vitamin C that's
Right.
$22,
And it's
Or
good,
even
and people just don't know.
exactly, or even Educated Mess. Yours is what, $80? Like 70 or $80? It's like,
85, yeah.
yeah, and you
We
didn't
raised the
increase your
size.
prices. Yeah, and you increased size. That's amazing.
Yes.
Like those
So
are the
that's
types of
pretty
brands that
cool.
are like, I feel better supporting them.
That's right. Thanks. Yeah. So when we placed our order for Golden Hour, so Golden Hour is a pretty simple product to manufacture. Sake Bomb and Hair of the Dog are pretty tough in production, but Golden Hour is pretty easy. So when we raised the batch size, they were able to cut our costs pretty significantly because it didn't like take more time or space to make more. They just needed more raw materials. So our cost per unit was lower. So when we decided to like increase the size, we were talking about it. And I was just like, I still just don't feel like I want to charge someone more than $85 for a serum. I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah.
And right now we're working on our next launch, and I keep finding new ingredients I want to add, and the cost is getting so much. And I'm like, now we could do this, but then we'd have to charge more than 85. I'm fighting with
Yeah.
on this one. I don't know what I'm gonna do because I really want it to have everything that I want in it because there's such
Yeah.
cool ingredients, and I can't figure out which one I want to like take out. I don't know what I'm gonna do.
But
I
it
don't know.
kind of comes back to the premise of just ethics in the skincare industry and how, or, skincare or beauty industry as a
Yeah,
whole, essentially, of like, how are you marketing a product? Are you really taking the time to look at what's going into that product?
right.
Does this company have my best interest in mind? Are they, like, is this somewhere I really want to put my dollar? That's something I think about a lot right now. Is I'm doing like a sort of intentional spend in November where I'm trying to basically just stop spending like a fucking idiot. So I'm trying to stop like
Dude,
buying dumb shit on Amazon.
I
So
thought my dad like hid my credit card from me, and because I was like looking for it today, and I was like, I can't find it, and I was sure enough gonna go buy something stupid online. I just couldn't find my credit card, so like that might be the best. That might be my only hope to just lose it.
100%. Yeah. I've had friends who have, they'll hide their credit cards. And then I've had friends who also say they remove Apple Pay from their phone
That's
because,
smart.
and yeah, and they don't save any of their cards to their browsers or anything or like their Amazon account. So
That's
every time they place an order, they have to have the card number to like go back in
that
there,
makes sense. I need to try
which,
that because I'm so
yeah, is a
impulsive.
smart theory, I think.
More things in your intentional spending though. I want you to coach me through this. I need help, so I might might be texting.
Yeah, I want to talk about it on kind of maybe my next mini-sode, or maybe I'll make a TikTok about it. But I just kind of was like, I was spending too much money on stupid bullshit from Amazon, essentially, is what I was
Me
doing.
too.
And all in the name of having like coordinating sweat sets and just stupid shit that I don't
Yes,
need.
that I just ordered. It came
That's
in
really
today.
cute though. Okay, I really like the color.
Dude, I had a 15%
Honestly, will you
off
send me the link?
discount
No.
code. Yeah. Dude, literally these pants, they're like high-waisted sweatpants, and there is something about them. They make me look like I have the nicest wagon of all time. And like sweatpants don't do that. So I literally sent my friend a picture earlier. I was like, check this out. She goes, send me the link. So I will.
Me the link. Honestly, yeah, send me it. So what I've been doing is I've been putting like the stuff that I've been really close to spending money on into a note on my phone. And
Makes sense.
then the stuff that I did spend money on, I've been putting in a separate, like, in, lower in the document, and just sort of explaining the intention behind spending the money on it. So I truly only have a few things on the spend list, which I'm very proud of because I am the biggest impulse shopper of all time. So I'm just trying to be better
ADD,
about
right? Are we gonna blame that?
what's that?
We're gonna blame the ADD. That's what I do.
1000%.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to blame the fact that I'm fucking unmedicated right now. That's 100% what we're going to
Oh
blame it on.
no.
So anyway, but the other day I put on my list, I was like, I had to go buy some vitamin C. So I was like, I bought my Naturium vitamin C, and
Yes.
I was just like, yeah, like that is something I feel good about spending my money on.
And
I,
you're girl
yeah,
math, you're saving money. I'm sorry.
honestly, yeah, girl math, I'm fully saving money. Like, as long as I didn't spend it on another sweatsuit from Amazon, I'm good. Like,
Right. And it's the Naturium vitamin C. That's like that is so worth the $20. I think
100%. And they're a
they're
great
one of those
brand.
brands. They Naturium and Stratia both like when I found like a product from both of those, I'm like, oh, a $20 serum. I'm expecting to see one or two ingredients. And then I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is
It's
oh. I
pretty
would have
fucking good.
if I had been just like looking at this ingredient list, I would have because I play this game with myself sometimes and I'm like looking at something, I'm like, how much would I think this would cost?
Yeah,
I would have probably put theirs in like the upper 40s, lower 50s range, like
100%. Yeah,
for
I
both of
feel
those brands.
very
So like
good.
I look
Yeah,
at their stuff and I'm like, y'all are
I
crushing.
feel very good about spending money with them. I feel like they're a great a great brand, and I feel like they're probably just good people who are behind the brand. And I know that you know some of
the
the people
best.
there.
Like
So
she,
yeah.
the amount of kindness Susan has like displayed to me, she really just like has helped me. Like I texted her a question just about something random, like with my business. She was like, "Do you want me to call you?" And like called me and just talked me through it like 40 minutes. And I was just like, "You are the sweetest human.
What an
Like she has
angel.
nothing to gain from
Yeah,
stuff like that. We've gotten to be good friends, and I just like feel so
exactly.
grateful
That's
for
amazing.
people like her. But yeah, so I will always support her. But literally, so what's funny is like I've had a couple people on TikTok, of course, the trolls always come in and comment. They're like, "Oh, you only say this because you're friends with her. Like you only say this because I bet Susan's paying you." I'm like, no, but we got to be good friends because she saw how much I loved Naturium. I think I like had talked about their brand like 4 or 5 times before she
That's
had
how
like,
I heard about them, was through
yeah,
you. Yeah.
really.
Hmm.
So I had talked about them like 4 or 5 times just because their products are great, and it's really easy. It's easy for me to talk about when they're that reasonably priced, and like they're just
Exactly.
always good stuff to say about them because they load the formulas up with good stuff. So anyway, she and I are friends because I love Naturium. I don't
Yeah.
love Naturium because of her. You know what I mean?
Right, right. Exactly. Exactly. Well, I love that. And I love that you've been able to build this like community on TikTok, and also by doing so, you've created this sort of support for your own brand, but you've made
Yes.
made friends and colleagues through the process, which is just like best case scenario when you're thinking of building a community on TikTok of all
I know.
places.
I
So
truly like everything has played out so much better than I could have hoped. Like, I really was just like, well, I'll throw some pasta to the wall and hope it sticks. I don't know if anyone's going to care about my video on Harry Styles' new primer that my friend asked me about over text message, but I'll just post a TikTok about it.
that's amazing. I love
And
that.
yeah, it's just, I can't imagine like not having met some of the people I've met. You know what I mean? It's just, it
Yeah,
feels
absolutely. That's so neat. Okay, so this is a theme we talk about on this show, and sort of it's a question I ask every guest that comes on the show. So one of the main kind of pillars of this show is this concept of undoing. So every woman has had her kind of moment of undoing, or several moments for most of us, honestly. And it's sort of an unbecoming so that we could develop into the people that we are now. And I want to know about your own story of undoing, unbecoming, unlearning, all of those things to eventually become a business owner, a, TikTok star, all of the things.
like star. Shut up.
You are a star.
No, I'm not. I just snorted. What a snore.
You're a
Just
star in my eyes.
all right. Let's see how deep we're gonna get here.
Anything you got.
The undoing. So I will say, like, we'll talk about like probably the worst moment, like the worst little chunk of my life, probably. Yeah, we'll get into it. So right after we launched, like, yeah, it was just like a lot slower than we had hoped. Like we just didn't know what we didn't know, and like
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so we're sitting there and it's like, okay, well, we're waiting on our Facebook to open so we can run ads. But then honestly, if that had happened, I don't know what we would have run. Like I don't know what we would have run.
Yeah.
And then so also our packaging just really we're not designers. We're not branding experts. It was very like it did not fit our branding, like what the message we wanted to give. It was just like very plain and basic and like looked like it was designed in Microsoft Word because it was. Well actually no, I think she used Adobe. Like we had a designer help us. We just
Mm-hmm.
didn't have like the design thought process, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, I mean, it was rough because like I I just didn't know how to get where we were going, and like um marketing companies that would help with that kind of stuff, like with like mobile ads and like moving videos and stuff. I mean, they were expensive and like we didn't have the equipment. I don't know. It was just we were
Yeah.
constantly trying. Catherine and I were both also trying to like do it all, like do the photography and the video. Like we just that's not what we're good at. And we've gotten really good at delegating everything out to the people.
Yeah.
But of
Absolutely.
course, when you're starting a business, like there's just money going in here and money going in here, and like where like you don't have enough, like
Yeah.
it's expensive. It was kind of funny because when I quit my job, actually my boss at the time, the guy who was the president of the manufacturer I
Yeah.
worked at, he just like sat me down because I was crying because I was like, I told you, like
Yeah.
we were close. Like he was a really good,
Yeah.
he and his wife owned the manufacturer, and they were like mom and dad. They were just the best.
Yeah.
So he was like, I was like crying when I told him, and he was like, "What are you?" Like, I literally like, walked in his office right before I quit. I was just like, "Oh, my life," and he was like, "Sit down.
Oh,
What is this about?" And he was like, "So you've already made your decision. Well, I just want to walk you through some of the things that I think are going to happen. Like, money's going to run out. Like, marketing is going to be more expensive. You know." And he goes through literally everything he said was exactly what happened. But I don't
right.
think about the future. I just am like, I don't care. I don't care. And I'm not
Yeah,
been like that, but I'm very privileged also to have been able to rely on my parents and know that like even if it took longer than expected or shit hit the fan, I wasn't going to be homeless. And like I always never want to like
right.
downplay that. Like I'm very lucky to have even been able to be compulsive about this. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
or not compulsive, but impulsive. I guess I always get those two confused.
Yeah.
Hard. But that was just a tangent on this whole thing because like everything he said was going to happen absolutely happened
Right.
because he's psychic. But no, so obviously like it's like we have launched, we've put all this money into it, and we just it's like you're a hamster running on a wheel and you don't know what to do. And it was like every day we could have woken up and like Facebook would have been like, your account's ready. And then we could have started trying to play around with ads. I don't think it would have like helped though. I don't know what we would have done. So um then I was living in Dallas at the time, and obviously was not working because at the time I'm like, oh well, if I get a job that's going to take away from the time I could be focusing on this, that was dumb. I could have gotten a job. I just didn't. And there was nothing I could have done in my industry though. So that was also kind of like, it's hard to go back, you know, from, I don't know.
Yeah.
So anyway, there was like there's a credit card I had forgotten to pay off, and I got hit with a lawsuit for it. And I was like,
Oh,
I just forgot about it. Like literally ADD, I'm sure you can understand, out of sight, out of mind.
1000%. Yes.
And so I'm like, screw it. And then I realized it was February and my lease was ending in April, and I just had forgotten to renew it. So I messaged my landlord and I was like, you know what? He like it was gonna be like a fee or something for like renewing it late. And then I'm like picturing moving my stuff out, and I was like, I am not making income right now. I have no idea how long this Facebook thing is gonna be an issue. And then we were like, this was also when we had decided, Catherine and I had talked about just like redesigning the packaging. So I'm like, even when we get everything resolved, we're going to be putting money back into the new packaging, the rebrand, like,
Right.
fuck it. So I just moved home.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky. Again, I'm very lucky that I had the option to move back in with my parents, which is where I am now, actually, which I could have moved out a little bit ago, which I'm thinking I'm still going to probably do it in like January or February. But I have been traveling so much that I'm like, it doesn't make sense
It
to go
doesn't
back
make sense.
somewhere.
Yeah.
And living here is easy. My parents are really cool. They cook and clean. That was
Yeah.
actually mom was doing the laundry. That's why I was like, are you seriously in here right now?
That's amazing.
And you're like, this happens all the time. I'm like, no, it doesn't. um, no, but like I'm very lucky to have been able to do that. And so I also like in moving home, I've gotten to pick back up on like a more healthy lifestyle.
Mm,
And that has kept my brain a little clearer about a lot of things. And I think that that's really helped me. Not like living alone is just like you don't have anyone besides yourself telling you like, what are you doing? Like you're being lazy
right.
today. Not even lazy, but just like there's a pattern of behavior that's going on that I don't think
Mhm.
is going to be beneficial for you in the long run. Like
Right.
take a
Yeah.
look, you
No
know. So
accountability. Yeah.
definitely. And so I think that the undoing of the I remember that like literal rock bottom moment, and I was just like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And
Mhm.
then I was like, wait a second, I have a really good option right there. I'll just move home. Um and I didn't even dread it. I was like, a lot of my friends were like, oh God, like that's and I'm like, no, I think it's gonna be good. And it's been
Yeah.
really good. And I was able to focus on that was when I started once I got here and I like had more space and I wasn't in just like this dinky apartment. That was when I started filming TikToks. And it was like also when I was like almost trying to like prove to them like, look, I am doing stuff all day. Uh,
Yeah. That's amazing.
and so it helped a lot. But I think that that was like a big thing that has really changed the game for us. But so now obviously my business partner is living in Dallas. That's where our stuff is manufactured. But we're talking about the next moves. And I think we're going to set up everything in Florida because her family is there. Her brother just had a baby, or his wife had or his fiance had a baby. And she wants to be closer to family. And I'm like, my family's in North Carolina. I'm like, I would love to be in warmer weather. And she's like,
100%.
well, I don't want you to feel like you have to follow where I'm going. I'm like, you're giving me an excuse to move to Florida. I'm coming to Florida.
100%. Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna crawl up in your asshole or anything, but like, I'm not gonna stalk you. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm like, I promise, like, we're good. I'm not following you there, but that's an excuse to move there. And I think
Absolutely.
it'll be good too. And so I'm really excited.
That's awesome. There's such a common theme amongst every person that I talk to who, when I ask that question, it's essentially in more or less words, I think it's a way of framing the concept of when was the worst moment of your life. And essentially, because for so many women, the undoing is when it's really sticky, it's really hard, it's really a tumultuous time, and it's kind of one thing after the other.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the common theme amongst all of the women that I've spoken
And
to.
listen, right when all this is going on, the situationship ends things. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding.
God damn it.
We've been on
Men
3
ruin
dates.
everything.
What do you mean?
No, for sure. And the common outcome of all of these stories that I hear is that it always ends up leading them or all of us to the destination of like, okay, I thought I would never get to this place. I thought I'd probably never be at this place, but this is exactly where I'm supposed to be
Yeah.
in this moment in time. And so I think that's just fascinating and really lovely that that's the shared sentiment from that question and from those experiences
Yeah.
that you all have.
It's kind
So
of funny too, when I was like, I remember like when I was kind of going through it at the time, I almost kind of just like dissociate and I'm like, this is how it is, and I'm just not gonna think about it, and we're just gonna pretend it's not real.
absolutely.
But I do remember also thinking like, and I don't know if this sounds like woo woo or whatever, but I was like kind of just sitting there like reflecting, and I'm like, instead of panicking, I was just like, every single time there has been a really shitty thing in your life, there's always something really good that comes after that. Sounds so cliche, but it's like, I always trust that the universe is working in balance. So like, if you got me down here, you're about to get me up here, and it might take a while to get there, but like, I've never
Yeah.
looked back and thought my life is over and there's no benefit, no positive I have from all of the hardships I faced. Like,
Yeah.
even
100%.
something is like, so one of my friends, we were talking about, because like a lot of my friends have gotten married, and me and my one other friend are single, and I was like, yeah, it would be nice to have like had someone I was dating or like that I could live with instead of moving back home with my parents at the time. Like, that would have been nice. But like, I also, because I'm single, I'm able to, at the drop of the hat, just travel down to Miami or LA or New York for some kind of like event, or like to go meet somebody. Like,
Yeah.
I was able, like, I get to like book a flight to, I saw a cheap flight to Dublin, because I do Scott's cheap flights. Do you know
Oh
about
yeah,
Scott's?
yeah, yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
love Scott
So
Cheap.
I saw a cheap flight to Ireland a couple months ago. So I just booked it. So I'm going in like 2 weeks. But
That's amazing.
I'm gonna be there for a month. So I hit up the people at Skin Rocks, because I have a partnership with them, or I did a couple ads for them. And I was like, I'm gonna be in London. Want to hang out. So I'm going up to their
Yeah.
headquarters. And then I did a video about Bloom Effects, and
Mhm.
their founder happens to be based in Amsterdam. So we're talking, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna be right there. I'm just gonna pop over and say hello. So now I've like been able to, because I was able to just like book a random month-long trip. Now I'm getting to go connect with other founders and like expand my
Yeah.
industry. You know what I mean? And like, that wouldn't be able to happen if I was tied to somebody. You know what I mean? I mean, I guess
Yeah.
I'm able to, but I probably wouldn't have done it. And so when I like think about it, I'm like, wow, I felt at the time, I was like, damn, if I, like,
Yeah.
that is the
No,
tough
that's
part about being
amazing.
single. And now I'm like, no, this is the good thing about being single. So it's
And
fun.
listen, maybe you'll have like a fucking eat, pray, love moment and meet the love of your life while you're over in Amsterdam. Like, like who knows, weirder shit has happened.
That's actually, so the girl that founded Bloom Effects, she was talking to me. She met her husband is a fourth generation tulip farmer, and that is the basis of their whole line. It is the coolest story. Tulips are the only flowers that continue to grow after you cut them, so they're basically like, they got a funding grant to kind of like try and look at the regenerative powers of the tulip, the compounds that the tulip produce or whatever. And she acknowledged, she was like, I'm not the first person to use these compounds, but we're the first people to use them from upcycled tulips. Coolest story, all
That
because
is
she
so
met
cool.
her husband while she was on a trip with her girlfriends. They lived in New York City. They were on a trip, and when they were in Ibiza, the last night they were there, she met her husband, and now she lives in Amsterdam and has a skincare line based on tulips. It is so cool, and her products are so good.
That
Like,
is the coolest fucking thing I've ever heard.
I only found out about this story because she saw a video I did just raving about her tulip nectar. And so then like we get to talking, because I'm a little golden retriever, and if you're nice to me for 2 seconds, you're gonna hear my life story. And then she
Fucking
felt like
same.
she could tell me hers. And so I hear this whole stuff, and I'm like, this is too cool.
That's
Um,
amazing.
I know.
That is so cool. I love that.
Yeah, anyway, so she had her eat, pray, love moment. Maybe I'll have
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah, exactly. I
I
love
might
that.
never come back. My
Please
TikTok
do.
changes, my niche changes, and I'm just like working on a grape farm, chopping grapes in Italy or something.
Honestly, I would literally come live 2 doors down from you.
Do it. Let's do it. No, let's go work on Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie's estate where they make their skincare line Les Domaines.
Yeah.
The
Oh my
$8 million
God.
grape.
Oh my God. I can't with some of these celebrities have gone too far.
This is way too
Um,
far.
so okay, I want to ask you a wrap-up question and then
Yeah.
I want to get into the world peace
Oh
section.
my God, it is already an hour. Oh my God, I
I
didn't realize
know. I literally,
it
but listen, here's my thing. I could talk to you for fucking days. So we might have to do a part 2 episode,
Well,
honestly.
I'm just gonna come to Chicago at some point because
Literally, yeah. Come to Chicago and I'll drive there and we will just like prance around the
oh yeah,
city.
because you're not quite in Chicago.
Like
Wait,
two and
we'll
a
do
half
this in
hours
like January.
southwest.
February will be cold. Maybe March. St. Patrick's Day. I've been wanting to go.
We should absolutely do that. It's really fun in Chicago. So
Don't they like do the
yeah.
river thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well we just planned another
Bunch of
trip.
fun
Cool,
shit
I'll book
there.
it.
Amazing. Perfect. So, okay. You obviously are so immersed in this world of skincare, of beauty, and it's become the sort of topic on TikTok of like my self-care involves my skincare and my beauty regimen and all of this stuff. So what are some ways that you take care of yourself outside? Like, how do you separate yourself from that world and find self-care in ways that are not associated with beauty, with skincare, with, TikTok, all of that?
Yeah. Okay. That is a loaded question because actually that was one thing that I've realized over the last couple months. I don't really have hobbies or anything I do that does not either relate to work or play. Like, and
100%.
so I used to paint a lot. So I actually painted a picture of one of my friends recently. That was really fun to do. But what
That's
I've
so cool.
actually picked up doing lately is I took a kickboxing class. My friend Dara works at a rock box out in
Yeah.
California. And so when I saw her in North Carolina, she's like, they have one in Raleigh. So I found one. It's like 20 minutes from my house or whatever. And I took like their starter class. I'm obsessed with it. I go like every day in the week. And it's like just the best because it is like an hour where I don't have my phone. I'm like
Mhm.
they're telling you what to do, but you're still having to like remember it. So you're like having to, I don't know, you're like
Yeah.
focusing on what you're doing. If I'm upset about something or annoyed with something, I am like taking it out on the
Yeah.
bag and kicking and throwing it, and I'm getting a good workout in. And like I just feel so much better throughout the day. And like to the point where when I was out of town on my birthday trip, I like made one of my friends go. We found a different type of boxing place to go.
That's
And
amazing.
I've never been the person to prioritize workout on vacation. Like, let me just tell you that. So I really think that has become something that like I see as self-care. It's not like I'm
Mhm.
going because I'm obsessing over working out. Like I feel better throughout the day. I just like have more energy and it just gives me a clearer head. And I think
Yeah.
that is like such an important part of my self-care routine right now.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll go for a walk in the neighborhood, but I'm saying like this will just like reset my mind. So
Yes. I
I've been
love it. Yes, movement is key. I honestly think, especially for business owners and people who like when you're a business owner, your work does not shut off. It is all day. It is all the
so
time,
and
24/7.
like and on TikTok it's like I'm also a customer service rep basically.
Yes, exactly.
And
Exactly.
like sometimes I'll just be like looking at my phone. I'm not my brain does not brain 24 hours of the day. I have walked into work before when I had a job with no shoes on, not realizing I didn't have shoes on. The brain is only like it can only focus on like two things ever in a day, and
For
it's their
sure.
quota. I've met the quota. So like sometimes people ask me questions and like thank God TikTok introduced the feature where I can just like save it and add it to favorites and answer it later.
Yeah.
But I have like over 2,000 saved messages that I've intended to go check. But like I'm gonna go look at the
100%.
number. Hold on. But then get to your next question. I'm just gonna show you this to prove it.
Okay, yes. I love it. So,
2,334 saved comments.
oh my God. Holy shit. But it's like I so resonate with that because I'm like ADD as fuck too. So like I understand the concept of like if I don't write this down, if I don't save this, if I don't do something like there is not a space for it in my brain. It has
Right.
to go outside of my brain
There was,
and be
and like for
somewhere
the
else.
first, yes, and for the first like 6, 7 months, like I would be on a trip with my friends and they're like, get off your phone. And I'm like, I'm answering questions and they might buy a golden hour if I tell them enough about it. And like, they're not gonna fucking buy golden hours tonight, Alex. It's 2
Just
a.m.
relax.
Literally.
Amazing. Okay, so let's jump into World War or World
Yes.
Peace. if somebody is listening who is not familiar with this segment of the show, World War or World Peace is where we talk about things that are related ideally to the niche of the person that we are interviewing, and they decide if it is conducive of world war for them or world peace.
I love
So
this so much.
thank you so much. It's my like literal favorite part of every episode that we do, because it's like it allows me to be creative in really diving into the person I'm interviewing and understand about their
You should
niche and
film
all of
these. I
that.
wish
So
that Zoom would film them vertically so that you could like take clips of this for TikTok, because those would be fascinating.
I wonder if I can. There we
And
go.
like little
Okay,
like
there.
bites. Well, hold
I
on
think
now.
on my end I
Hold on now.
can.
Hold on
I
now,
think I,
Max. I'm just kidding.
I think on my end, maybe yours will be the first I put on TikTok. Okay.
Yes, do it. No.
Okay, so for World War or World Peace, the first, I can't wait for this one.
Oh no.
Drunk Elephant skincare products.
Okay, let me just say their newer stuff, the Sweet Biome spray and the Bouncy Bright facial, I like those. The rest of it, like the pricing, World War.
Yeah, for
They're
sure.
one of those. It could be. I wouldn't hate it if they were $15. You know.
100%. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah. I'm only not saying immediate World War just because some of the newer stuff that I've seen, I'm like, y'all got a good chemist behind you now. But yeah,
Well,
the original stuff, and I mean, I'm sorry, I don't. Never mind. World War.
okay, wait. So I had this girlfriend who I had a roommate when I was living in New York who
Wait,
was,
you lived in New York?
yeah, I lived in
How
New York
long?
prior to COVID. It was just shy of a year.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
I like very impulsively booked a one-way ticket out there after a really bad breakup and wanted to be a rockette. And that's why I
Fucking
moved
love
to
that.
yeah. So anyway, little tidbit. And before I could audition, a world pandemic happened. But then I moved in with my now husband. So it's okay.
Exactly. The undoing of the rocket.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. So I had this roommate who, like, God love her. I adore her so much, but she was at the time obsessed with Drunk Elephant skincare. And I think that was kind of the thing at the time, like 2018,
It
2019
still
was like
is. It
kind
still
of,
is.
yeah, but it's
One
I'm
of my
like,
cousins is in college and she texted me and was like, for Christmas this year, I'm gonna get a Drunk Elephant product. What should I get? And I was like, none of them.
literally
I'll
no.
make you something. I have an
Yeah.
arm here. What do you mean?
I will literally go make you a serum.
Really? Save yourself. Save your money.
And I remember that those little fucking, they're like, they come in the travel size like containers or whatever. Okay, so I remember that there was there was like a bag of those at Sephora, and I was with my roommate, and we were like walking through there or something, and like I distinctly remember her purchasing this one time, and I was just like, it was like $100 for like, and I mean they really are, I am holding up my fingers for those who cannot see, 2 inches like it in height. Like they have no product in them. And I was just like, God, that's fucking wild that like people are actually spending this money on these products. So
Their
anyway,
marula oil is like, I don't know how much
it's,
it is,
it's
but
this big.
one of my first videos was comparing the price of it to, like, you could buy like a fucking gallon of virgin cold pressed marula oil, organic, whatever, all of that for less than a quarter of the price of their little fucking thing. And that's what they're buying and filling it. Like they do not have a team dedicated to cold pressing their own fucking marula nuts or whatever it is. Like
Absolutely not.
they're
Yeah.
buying the oil from a supplier, and the most expensive supplier I could find was still a quarter of the price for a gallon of what they're
That's
charging for that.
insane. That's
Those are
wild. Okay. I love
like,
that.
there's obviously gonna be markup, but like that was just a crazy one. Anyway.
Yeah, it's like SkinCeuticals. It's the markup of
It's like we're
yeah.
starting to get criminal here.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
should get audited, or not audited. What's the word? Charged.
Yeah, there does need to be an auditing firm that is looking at these
Your
case
markup
files.
is too high.
Yeah,
You may not
exactly.
raise your prices again. In fact,
I
we might make you lower
wish.
them.
I wish that's how this hellscape worked. Okay, so the second thing on my list is um all natural hair care products. Anything branded with specifically anything branded sulfate free, paraben free,
World War.
silicone free.
World War. Okay. here's the difference. If you're just saying like silicone, or like, I don't like hair care brands that are silicone free, but whatever. I think they're functionally inferior. Silicones are so good for hair care. It's just you're telling me that your product is not as good as it could be. Like, that is what silicone free means to me. But it doesn't mean that to a lot of people. But I actually don't care when brands are like, I mean, it's not that I don't care. I get it. When a brand is like paraben free, silicone free, they know that that's how customers are shopping. And so like, they're just kind of drinking the Kool-Aid. I don't care. When they're going and saying like, our product is better because you could technically eat it if you want to. No, fuck you. If you're saying like, oh, our product is better because that one over there is using these toxic silicones or these toxic chemicals that you can't even pronounce, that's when I get pissed. That's when like,
Yeah.
I don't care so much when the brands are drinking the Kool-Aid and just putting it on their packaging. I mean, I think it's stupid, but like, whatever, if you can't beat them,
Right.
I guess. But it's the ones that are like trying to make it sound like that other brand is bad because they're using this. Like, fuck off.
I love
We're
it.
not bad. That just tells me that you don't understand science. That's what that tells me.
What about like aluminum free deodorants? Like I just kind of thought of this one. So like yeah, what's the scoop on fucking aluminum? Because I've been using this native shit for like 5 years. And listen, when I tell you that the minute that wears off, I smell rank as fuck. Like
People have noses, all right? This is fucking disrespectful. This is a serious matter. There is nothing wrong with aluminum. The links to breast cancer, I believe, are from all the science I've read. Now, there might be a new study that comes out tomorrow that completely proves me wrong, and I will completely change my stance on this. But there's really
Sure.
nothing wrong with aluminum as long as you're not allergic to it. Some people will have like a rash or something, in which case I do recommend avoiding aluminum deodorants, but I don't like native. A lot of them just like use essential oils to cover up smell, and that's not helpful for anybody. The only ones that I've seen that work, like Lumi, I think is a good one, and
Yeah.
it's like they use mandelic acid, so they're basically, you're bringing the pH down way too low for bacteria to thrive. So I think those work. The bacteria just doesn't like grow.
Right.
I don't know if it necessarily kills the bacteria. Actually, I haven't even thought about it that
So
way.
I can go back to secret deodorant.
Yes, but the
You're like,
moral of
and
the
you
story, if you
should.
don't get rashes from aluminum-based deodorant, please use aluminum-based deodorant because
Okay,
I
perfect.
have a nose and it works. And I do not like when people smell bad.
I'm crying. That's amazing. Okay, last one
If
on
you're
my
not
list.
using deodorant because like you can't afford it or something, that's a different story. If you're not using it because you think that you're being healthier and you think you're better than everyone else because you don't use aluminum deodorant, that's when I have a problem.
Right,
That's
right.
terrifying.
I love that because I think that the aluminum based deodorant that I was using, back however many years ago was significantly like less expensive than what I like. I mean, native is like literally $13 for
It is
like a
just adding
month's
to the girl
supply.
tax.
Like,
Like,
yeah, the girl tax is too high already. I have to get Botox next week. So anyway, okay, the
I
last thing on
haven't
my
gotten it
list.
because I'm just so scared of needles, but I need to so
Oh my
bad because
God,
I'm
it's the
gonna
best
get
thing ever. I'm definitely due. I just got it in my jaw and it is absolutely life-changing. That is the
do
one
you
treatment that I
I
tell people
I
you need
clenched mine so bad because of Adderall.
you need it. Like you
Yeah,
need it in your jaw. It is amazing.
I might do that. I
Okay,
grind my teeth. Look, wait, I grind my teeth so much that like they're not pointy anymore. You see that?
yeah, no, literally that is exactly how I was grinding so much that like I would wake up in the morning and I'd have to crack my like jaw open. It
For
was
people that are listening to the podcast, I forgot I was on a podcast and I was showing you my teeth that are grinded down. But for what I was saying, I grind my teeth so bad that they go up instead of down at the canines. But anyway,
You absolutely you should try out Botox in your jaw. It's
yes,
absolutely
I
life
think I will.
changing. I swear to God that I sleep better because of it. I'm not kidding.
Really.
Because I'm not
Sounds
just
like I
like
wake up with a
clenching.
headache too.
Yeah, exactly. I was the same way. And now I like wake up, I'm pain free. The also the shape of my face has completely changed. Like
Oh, that's what everyone says. Like the
I literally have never had like a slimmer looking face, which I'm like, it's not like I like lost weight or anything. So anyway,
interesting.
okay, the last topic on World War, World Peace for you is slugging, the concept of slugging. So if maybe you want to give a brief explanation of
Yeah.
slugging to those who may not know what it is, but it's very popular on Skin Talk right now.
Yes. So slugging is essentially using like petrolatum or something occlusive to seal off your skin, trap water in. It's not going to evaporate out. I love Vaseline for my lips. I think there's like nothing better for hydration for my lips. I am acne prone. I've never really had issues with, I don't think Vaseline, like petroleum isn't necessarily like gonna clog up your pores. It doesn't really oxidize to form blackheads or anything. Like it's a low risk for pore clogging or whatever.
Right.
But I just don't love, I don't love how long it sits on there. But I experiments buffer jelly. Whew, that is so good. And I also I've talked about Bloom Effects about 4 times now. Their royalty lip nectar just changed the game for me like 2 weeks ago, and I've just been obsessed with it. I'm like, I would drink it. I would get an IV of it if I could. But that is like kind of a form of slugging that I like because it's more based on the glycerin and like more, it's like watery ingredients in a oil matrix. So it has this really unique honey texture, but it's like slugging without being Vaseline. I don't know how to say that. Like it's like slugging with more water ingredients that are going to be less likely to feel like a mask almost. And then experiments is a lighter slugging. So if you're like, if you're too acne prone and you find that like the idea of Vaseline, you don't like it, try either Experiment Buffer Jelly or Bloom Effects Royal Tulip Nectar. Both of those are great, but I do like Vaseline as well. It's a very cheap option. I just don't use it. But
Intentional Spend November I'm going to be purchasing this what is it? Bloom Effects?
Bloom Effects Royal Tulip Nectar.
I will be texting you immediately after this.
Absolutely. I'll send you the link with the sweatpants that make the ass go.
Perfect. Thank you. Amazing. Alex.
But yeah, no, so I do like slugging. I like it. I think it's a good.
Okay, so that's people
world
really peace for you. Perfect.
Yeah. And I think it's good too, because like certain people, love hyaluronic acid serums. I like hyaluronic acid, but it doesn't do it. It kind of just is like a film, and when you put an occlusive layer on top, that could really help keep it in, like keep the water and the hyaluronic acid in more so than it would be if it was not occluded over.
Oh, amazing. Alex, you have given so much fucking information tonight about like skincare routines. This is literally amazing.
Let's go.
Such a delight having you on the show.
Oh, it was a delight talking to you tonight.
Before we wrap up the episode and everything, go ahead and tell everybody where the fuck they can find you. Plug your Instagram, plug your TikTok, plug your website, all the shit.
So my TikTok and Instagram are just Alex Educated Mess. Educated Mess is the name of my brand. And so that website is just www.educatedmess.com. And we have been out of stock for like 4 months, but we are back in stock now.
Back in stock. Yay.
We're celebrating by coming on Maggie's podcast.
Yay.
Talking about World War and World.
You're the best. Again,
thank you so much for having me, Maggie. This was awesome.
Thank you so much.
Next time we're doing this in person.
100%.